Welcome to the Sentinel Week 9 high school football recap. I'm Perry Mattern alongside Jake Adams once again. Jake takes the shirt. Pretty good week for you, 9-2. I was just one better at 10-1. We picked a lot of winners that we thought, actually had a lot of the same picks, I should say. We only had one different, and we'll get to the one game that we both missed, the big surprising one this week. But let's start in Cumberland Valley, State College in Cumberland Valley. And this game probably unfolded about as well as we could have predicted, 13-0, and really a game that we expected to be low scoring.
Yeah, back-to-back shutouts now for CV. This defense just, I mean, we talked about it all year again. How much more can we say? This defense is carrying this team, and again, 13-0. You can't do much better than that.
If they can ride this defense to the district playoffs, they could be really, really good. Cedar Cliff at Hershey, again, the Colts give up a good amount of points, but you have to also remember the fact that they were really rolling in this game.
Yeah, and 14 of those points that they gave up ended up being in the fourth quarter. So by that point, obviously, it doesn't really matter much. Brenneman did his thing, 200 yards. Demi did his thing, 150-plus yards rushing. A couple touchdowns between both of them. I mean, what else? It's the same old with them.
Really, the big thing was getting out of there healthy because Redland is on tap next week. Mechanicsburg at Susquehanna Township, the Wildcats still looking for the first Keystone win. The defense didn't come up big here.
And this is the one that we disagreed on in the picks, and just kind of surprising. I mean, Susquehanna can score, but that the Wildcats couldn't keep up with them too at the same time. It's pretty clear that this season's kind of a lost cause now.
West Perry at Boiling Springs, and the Bubblers roll pretty easily.
And we talked about how quick would John Vaughn get to 200 yards rushing in the preview video. Didn't even get a chance. 11 carries, 169 yards, and gets pulled out of the game for obvious reasons. It got out of hand pretty quickly.
East Pennsboro at Big Spring, TJ Stohlman with the big game as the Panthers continue to be more of a passing team here in the second half of the season.
360 yards he had through the air. I mean, like, this is not the team that we saw week 2, week 3 when it was Brighton, Fegley, first down, second down, third down. Great to see, though, that they do have that capability, but again, it's also against a Big Spring team that it's a lot easier to throw against them than it is to run it against them, and it's not entirely surprising, I guess, that they decided to air it out. More surprising that they had that much success.
Lower Dauphin at Northern, and the Polar Bears never really stood a chance in this one.
Again, this Keystone division just has their way with the Colonial, and Northern just... It's the wrong place at the wrong time. I feel like everything's just kind of falling off the road there for them. Lower Dauphin just sticking their head in that picture again in the Keystone and making a potential run there for District 3, and maybe we'll build some momentum there.
Really, since the loss to Cedar Cliff, they have been very, very good. Shippensburg at James Buchanan, and this was the surprise. We both had this one wrong. The Greyhounds don't have much of an offense in this game. And with how well they were playing, and with the fact that they are still in the district playoff race, this one hurts.
And James Buchanan isn't exactly a team that's going to put up a bunch of points. I mean, granted, they were held to only 14, but still, like, if you thought one offense was going to have a better day, it was probably going to be Shippensburg, and they got nothing going whatsoever offensively. That ground game that's been somewhat successful for them the past few weeks, only 110 yards, 30 carries. I mean, that's a pretty quiet night for them.
Not Shippensburg, but Susquehanna at Juniata. And this was a game that we expected to be tough for the Blackhawks to keep up in.
Shane Smith got the start at quarterback again. It's just kind of who are they going to throw out there. It's kind of the same old. They're going through just a brutal slate again in the Tri-Valley, and no offense to speak of. The defense is just overmatched everywhere on the field, and it showed once again.
Moving on to our key games, and let's start at Redland, really at Cedar Cliff at West Shore Stadium, where the Patriots gave Bishop McDevitt a pretty good fight.
Yeah, at halftime I'm seeing the tweets coming in from you, and it's like, all right, well, are they going to be the team that finally does it? Because we thought that they might be maybe the better equipped team of everyone in the division there. They have the defense to slow down McDevitt, we thought. They have the offense that's more ball control than Lower Dauphin or Cedar Cliff kind of is. And Overton has just been a beast on both sides of the ball. And for a while it looked like it, but I guess it must have been McDevitt just kind of found the ground.
It looked a little more like Redland just got tired. You got too many guys playing both ways. And McDevitt has a couple guys that do, but there's just so much quality depth that the Crusaders have that it's really hard for any team in the mid-pen to keep up with them with how much quality talent that they have. And that's really what happened. Redland in the final quarter just couldn't keep up.
Well, when I go to see them against Cumberland Valley back in the beginning of the season, their coach talked about how they didn't really like using one of their star linebackers to run the ball, Krishan. And it's just like, most teams don't even think twice about that. We have so many teams that their running back is also a starting linebacker and goes for 200 yards and gets a bunch of tackles too. But for this team, for them to be like picky about that is surprising, but just shows how much depth they've got.
Exactly, no doubt about it. Carlisle at CD East, and this one may have actually been more surprising than the Shippensburg game. And we both picked Carlisle to lose, but they had this game. They had it.
Second time now this season where it comes down to point after touchdown, whether it's converting on 2 points or just getting the field goal. They didn't get a single one again. The same thing happened to them against Redland back in week 2, and it cost them. They were in this game the whole time, and if they make one of those, they win this game. It doesn't even have to go into overtime where they eventually lost, because they also kept CD East from getting a point after two.
Right.
And that was kind of surprising too, because CD East is, Carlisle is one of the worst teams on special teams, I feel like, in this area. CD East has not been nearly as bad, and they kept it even. For them to, you just get one 2-point conversion, one extra point, this game's over, and you pull off one of the biggest shockers and basically put yourself right in the District 3 playoffs.
Now they have to win this one against Harrisburg this week to really solidify their spot. Camp Hill at Trinity. This was a wild game. 27-0. Camp Hill jumps out to the lead, and then Trinity clawing their way back and just ran out of time. I mean, this is really a case of where Trinity just, you can't start that badly and expect to make the push the whole way back.
And it wasn't even like they kind of started that bad. It's just like Camp Hill had everything going. Like, Michael Schuster drops back and it rolls out of the pocket, throws a completion for 20 yards. Had 50 yards on 3 different plays in the first quarter alone. Everything was working for them offensively. The difference was once Trinity decided to go this amoeba defense that I hadn't seen all year at least, they all of a sudden Camp Hill couldn't do anything. Schuster still though, I think the thing that kind of saved it was he still was breaking sacks left and right. That kid has such a good control in the pocket. It's insane.
Yeah. And I think this is one thing about Camp Hill that scares us, though. I mean, they may end up being the #1 seed in District 3, Single A, but they're just so hot and cold.
Yeah.
And there's no consistency to the offense. When the offense is great, it's great. And it is great a lot. There's more hot than there is cold.
Yes.
But they don't get a lot of grinded out drives. 10-play drives that they go the length of the field. It's really, they rely on the big play. And if it's not there, then they seem to struggle, and that's what happened.
And I think that some of this I'll chalk up to Trinity threw out a wrinkle that Camp Hill knew they had, but Trinity played it, their coach said, probably the best they've played all year. Obviously, because it's their division rival, you expect that to show up that well. And in high school, to see an amoeba defense is pretty rare. It's pretty standard stuff that you see. So this is a wrinkle that, you throw a Peyton Manning out there, he knows exactly what to expect. But we're talking about a junior in high school playing quarterback.
Well, but at the same time, it sounded like a little bit, and you're talking with Schuster, that he was understanding it well.
Yeah.
And he was making checks. But at
it was a fun cat and mouse game to watch.
But at a certain point, when you're doing so much with the rest of your offense that are 15 and 16-year-olds, then it is tough to get everyone on the same page, and maybe you need to just keep it relatively simple. But it sounds like it was really, really a fun game.
The one good note from them, defensively, they held John Miller in check. He didn't have a ton of big carries.
Like we expected that.
Yeah. We thought this could be kind of if Trinity stuck to the running game, at least I did, if they stuck to the running game and got success early, that might make it a shootout. But Camp Hill didn't get burned. I wouldn't say they were great against the run, but they didn't get burned this week, and that was a big plus for them.
Let's move on to our 3 Sentinel Stars, and let's stay in this game because we picked our stars to watch in this game, and both of them had pretty big games. You mentioned Miller was held in check, but he had big impact otherwise.
Yeah, didn't break 100 yards rushing, but he had 2 touchdowns that helped spark the comeback. His interception in the second quarter, his fumble recovery in the third, which pops right into his hands. Right place, right time. Both helped stall Camp Hill drives that you kind of sit there and go, if they can get one more score here, it might put it out of reach even though the comeback's coming. And it helped Trinity keep going. It actually started that run. The interception was what really got them going to start. And then Hunter Geisel, 200 yards he had through the air, still under 50% completion, but had a good day throwing because they had to resort to it a little bit.
I think Coach Bill Rainey wished that this kind of balance offensively would have shown up a little bit earlier, and then also the defensive effort that they had there in the second half. TJ Stohlman, we expected East Penn to be big winners, but the stat line that he threw up there, that's Sentinel Star worthy.
Yeah, he throws for 384 yards, 6 passing TDs and rushes for another. I believe he had over 100 yards too on the ground. I mean, what else could you possibly ask from a quarterback?
Right.
I don't think we've seen a game like that from anyone this year. We've seen some pretty
right,
good ones.
other than Schuster's last week, but still, the Balanced also have the run TD as well. Our third Sentinel Star, also in a game that was not going his way, like the Trinity guys, but man, Phil Overton, and I said this to you, and I said this to Coach Chad Weaver, I hadn't seen him play in person, came away very, very impressed.
You don't have him on your team, and Redland probably loses that game
Well,
by a lot more.
And it has maybe 2 or 3 losses at this point.
When I was talking with Laura Dauphin after the game a couple weeks ago between those 2 teams, he was like, I really wish we had that kid, because he loves the way he runs and loves the way he plays linebacker. He's a very good dual threat, and I guess this must have been like a pretty big game for him.
I mean,
to show up against
Bishop McDevitt. And he was one of the main guys that was gassed. I mean, they needed him in the fourth quarter. He actually only had 4 carries in the entire second half, but in that first half, boy, did he put the team on his back. And they said, let's go, guys. The 2 catches were both on beautifully designed plays because McDevitt is expecting more of the... Redland is not just a ground and pound team. They're more of an outside jet sweep kind of team, and both were on nicely designed passing plays, but the kick return and then his 69-yard run in the second half was that was big time.
And unfortunately, you talked about him getting tired. It's unfortunate they played this game this week. If they do this in the beginning of the season, all right, he gets tired, you rest him up a little bit in the coming weeks. But now you got a huge game against Cedar Cliff, and then you got district playoffs. There's no rest for the weary right now at all.
Well, we will have our week 10, I should say, preview video on Thursday night, Friday morning, and we will talk about our picks in that one. And I think we're going to both be going back and forth on Cedar Cliff and Redland.
I don't think either one of us is going to go 9-2 that next week.
It's going to be tough to do, but we're excited to get going on the football tab this week, and then we will have the preview video on Thursday. We'll talk to you then.